So we've come to the last stakes race on the card at Kentucky Downs on Saturday, and it's the Ainsworth Turf Sprint, a Grade 2. It's the 11th race, run at 6 furlongs on the turf for 3-year-olds and up. And that distance is very important because when you consider most turf sprints are run at 5 and 5.5 furlongs, it's maybe not necessarily a distance a lot of these horses are comfortable with, and I think that's going to make a big difference. When you take a look at this field, of course, the standout is Cogburn. Who can forget that Jaipur? Hasn't run since then. Would have been nice if we could have seen him in the Troy Stakes to see how he fared after running such a monster. But we've also got, as we did in the turf sprint earlier, I looked at the Franklin Simpson, I believe. We've got a few running on short rest, to take advantage of those huge purses at Kentucky Downs. Axtelm, who just won at sizable odds last Sunday, and then One Timer, who ran last Sunday as well. And I believe Coppola may have. I'm not, it escapes me right now. But anyway, you've got a couple who are running on really short rest. We've got some that were Kadim is coming in from Europe, and he is a 2-time winner of the Queen Elizabeth II. That's a turf sprint at 6 furlongs at Royal Ascot. So he's got some pretty good pedigree there, some back class. No Balls, the British Breeders' Cup Sprint champion. And recall that was at 5 furlongs. And then you've got Charcoal, who just won at really big odds. He's been a hard knocker, been around for a long time. And Gear Jockey, who I'll never forget because he beat me last year in this race when I had One Timer by a nose. So Gear Jockey is one that we always want to remember. He is the ultimate horse for the course at Kentucky Downs. So we take a look at this field. Now, you look, and there's a lot of horses who like to run up near the lead. That's no surprise for a turf sprint. We'll start with Gear Jockey. This horse hasn't run since the Breeders' Cup Turf, and the only reason he was in that race is because he won this race last year by a nose. He had no back class coming into the race. He didn't look like he wanted it, was going to be effective at all, but he is definitely a horse that is elevated by running at Kentucky Downs, and I think one of the reasons is this is a 6 furlong turf sprint, not 5, not 5.5, 6. And it's obviously a distance that he really likes. So at 30-1, given his record, I believe he's 2 for 2 at Kentucky Downs. I'm going to throw him back in the mix here. I think at 7 years old, it might be a tall order in a Grade 2 stakes race after having run in nearly a year. But, he could very well do it because it is a track that he loves. So we'll throw Gear Jockey in the mix. You see a plus sign by One Timer and Axtelm. They ran last Sunday. And One Timer got nipped by Gear Jockey last year, much to my chagrin. And trained by Larry Ravelli. He's coming in third off the layoff, but there's 3 races in basically a month. So, he's certainly a horse who has good experience at the track. The 6 furlongs isn't a problem. I just wonder if it's asking a little too much on 6 days rest to elevate class-wise. But Larry Ravelli is not to be underestimated, and One Timer is one that I'll throw in the mix, given his record over the track and the trainer. And he does belong here, so we'll throw him in here. I'm just not sure he can get up in time or get up in this field. Now, you see a line through Cogburn. Now, if you go back and watch the Troy Stakes video that I posted, I was throwing Cogburn out in that race too. And the reason being is that Jaipur was just a monster effort. And every horse has a race like that where they just run, there was no competition for Cogburn that day. He was running against himself, and he just, set a world record. It was a monster race. But races like that, a lot of times, can take something out of a horse, and they never can quite get back to it. I'm betting against him in this race. Steve Asmussen is very good at keeping horses in good form, but I'm just going to bank that he's not going to be able to do it here. The other part of it is that at 6 furlongs, he ran in this race last year, and he didn't run badly, but it did look like maybe 6 furlongs a tad too far for him. So I think there's a couple of things going against Cogburn here. So if he beats me, he beats me, and I'll tip my hat to him. But I'm going to bet against him, and I'm not even going to use him. I'm going to throw him right out. So we come to No Balls, Breeders' Cup Turf Champion. He ran his last race. Frank Miramati was at Saratoga. Frank Miramati's like, well, No Balls isn't responding. Well, he actually did. He looked like it took a little while to shake some of the rust off. He had been coming off the bench, but then late in the race, he did re-rally and get it going a little bit. So I thought that was, I love Frank Miramati, but I thought that was a little inaccurate. This is a horse off the layoff, second off the layoff. His record speaks for itself. He's an awesome sprinter, but at 5.5 furlongs. 6 furlongs he has run at, and he's been okay at, but he's never won at it. And you couple that with the contours of Kentucky Downs and that monster stretch that just goes on forever, I think that's a kind of a tall order for No Balls. And while I think he can certainly factor in this race, I'm not sure that he necessarily can do it at 6 furlongs. Groom's All Business is a horse that I liked for the Troy Stakes. And I think this is a horse who's on the come. He's clearly getting better. And I think with a race under him, that he looms a pretty good threat in this race. And I like him as one of the top 3 in this race for sure. He's definitely got escalating speed figures. And provided he takes to Kentucky Downs, I think he'll be all right at 6 furlongs. He has run it out a couple of times and has a couple of seconds. And if you couple the comfort at 6 furlongs with improving form, I think he looms a very logical win candidate here. Cadem he won a couple times at Royal Ascot at 6 furlongs. This horse has grade 1 back class. The problem is the last couple of races haven't been too hot. Now, he is trained by Charlie Hills, who also has Ancient Rome running in the Turf Cup. And I just wonder if Cadem is really more just along for the ride. Maybe they see if they can get him going again. But I'm not going to ignore him because he does have the back class here. And certainly Ascot has a lot of undulations in it as well. And a familiarity of those type of tracks definitely gives Cadem an edge. So I will definitely put him in the mix, and he's certainly a prime win candidate. But if I'm going to go against Cogburn, an overwhelming favorite, and then I look at the rest of this field and I see a couple, one-timers going on 6 days rest. Gear Jockey hasn't run since the Breeders' Cup. No Balls and Groom's All Business, maybe a little, 6 furlongs, not their ideal distance. And Cadem having the last couple races not being very good, so he's trying to find his form again. I'm going to go with a long shot. I'm going with Moustache, and here's why. Moustache has been a pretty good sprinter. At 2, he showed a lot of promise. Hasn't really lived up to it. They've tried to stretch him out, and not with limited success. He's been okay around 2 turns, but obviously he wants 1. Given the fact that he can, you look back at his races, particularly those 2-turn races, he was on the engine for a few of them, and was still there maybe at the 7 furlong or mile mark before he started backing up. So I think this horse has the stamina to be fine at 6 furlongs, and provided he is okay at Kentucky Downs, I think he's very dangerous in here. And at 30-1, if I'm going to go against Cogburn, I look at the rest of this field and I see vulnerability. I want a bomb, and I'm going with it. So we're going to go with Moustache to take this one down. Now, we look at our wagering strategy. We're going to go with Moustache to win, and then we're going to do a key box, 12 on top with 1, 7, 8, 10. And then, as a saver, we'll take our top 4, 1, 7, 8, 10, and we'll box them together. So If for some reason Mustache decides not to run, then we're covered with the other horses who I think are the best, the most competitive in here. And then we would kind of hope for Gear Jockey to get in the mix because for another one at 30-1. And ideally, we'll get Mustache and Gear Jockey 1-2. But I think this race, to me, screams for value. It screams, given, again, the distance and the nature of Kentucky Downs, why not go for a long shot here? I think it's a perfect time to try to beat Cogburn, so we're going to try to do it and let the chips fall where they may. Hope this analysis helps you with your own wagering strategy. Wish you the best of luck as always. And take a look at our other postings for the other stakes races at Kentucky Downs. And perhaps, time permitting, we'll have a pick 5 sequence as well. So keep posted on that. So that's it from here. I'll talk to you soon. And until then, be well.